For the past 3 days, I've been judging sheepdog trials with Colin Gordon, and Colin has some very interesting things to say. But I asked him if he'd give us a little bit of an interview and just, share a bit of his opinion or some of his ideas. So he agreed to it. Unfortunately, phone was a bit full of rubbish there, so it's kind of a short one because it ran out as we were talking there, and we didn't get to finish it. So I'm here with Colin Gordon, and we're in Texas of all places. But I was asking Colin a little bit about running doubles there, very interested in doubles. Colin's lots of experience there, and he's been in internationals, an international reserve international champion on 4 occasions, I think. But Colin, I always wondered when you like, it's one thing to train a single sheepdog, but how do you go about getting 2 dogs working together, or what age do you start them at, or anything?
Well, to be honest, it's an everyday job, really. I always take 2 dogs when I'm gathering sheep. When I'm working in sheep, we'll always take 2 dogs with us. And if we find that the dogs are happy with each other, then I'll start to put a bit more work into it and train them to go together. And then we'll always be together.
And when you say that they're sort of happy working together now, how do you know when they're happy working together? When they're not fighting against each other?
Yes, and when you commanding one dog that's doing wrong pretty hard, if it's affecting the other dog at all, it'd be no good.
Well, there's a situation I have now with a pair of dogs, and they're working fairly well together. But there's one dog, and maybe you put a bit more pressure on him, and then the other lad starts to hold back a bit.
Yeah, well, that is the danger.
Yes.
That is the danger. And then you've got to ease up the pressure you're putting on the first dog, lest it's going to affect the other dog.
Yes.
But I believe, always have, when you start a dog off, singles or doubles, I always call the dog's name and talk to the dog. And then when you're working the doubles together, you can shout Cap, and Cap will listen. And then you can shout Meg, and Meg will listen.
Yes.
And if you shout Cap, Cap, he's happy walking on.
Yes.
Cap, then he's pulling himself back a bit, and same with the other bitch.
So his name is almost a little bit like, well, it
like
tells them how serious you are. It's another command, yeah.
If you give them the name, they know that you're talking to them.
Yes.
That command is going to them.
Yes.
But otherwise, you've got to put a heap of different whistles on to pull one up, ease him, slow him up, and all that.
Make it complicated.
It's more complicated when you're running 2 dogs.
Yeah.
If you're running one, it's not so bad.
So if you have one dog and he's a little bit greedy and he's trying to do more of the work,
call his name hard, and he'd pull up a bit.
Yeah, yeah.
And the other one, you haven't spoken to that one because you haven't called her name, and that one keeps on coming on the same.
Yes, the other one can say, I can ignore all that. That's not for me.
That's right, that's not for me.
Yes. And I see, especially you as Welsh fellas, I see some of you commanding in English, maybe on one dog, and Welsh on another. Yes. What do you do, or do you just have different commands or whistles? Or
I'm a little bit greedy, you see, because there'll come a time I want to sell these dogs, and if I commanded in Welsh, I'd only have one customer.
The smaller market.
The smaller market.
Yes.
No, but I got a friend in North Wales, John Griffiths, who's brilliant at doubles. He goes English and Welsh.
Yes.
And it works very well for him.
Yes, yes. And so what do you do then? Would you have a combine away on a dog and go right and come left or something?
All different whistles.
Yeah.
When I start a dog off and I can see that they are coming happy together, I'll put different whistles on them.
Yes.
So Cap will not listen to Meg's whistles or...
Well, what about my 2 dogs now? They just happen to both be on combine away verbal commands. They have different whistles.
Yes.
Does that matter?
Yeah, you need different whistles, but the way you combine verbal, that's going to be the same always, because when you run them in the singles or doubles, if you say way, the both dogs will go away.
Yes.
But you put one to stand, and then Cap, way.
Oh, so I heard Dennis Burchell say that before, that he could have a dog with the same commands, but if he said their name,
yes,
one dog would know that's my ones.
That's right.
I didn't think that'd work. I thought he was just joking.
No, it'll be hard to work because I like to put a different whistle on.
Yes.
And then when they're at a big distance away, then the sound of the name of the dog isn't so clear.
Yes.
So if you get the whistles, I have different whistles on each dog.
Yes. And in the international now, when you go out there with doubles, is the outrun nearly always about 800 yards? This year it looked at, or 600 is it? Looked at terrible distance.
Yes, it should be, but it isn't. I remember many years ago I went to, I think it was Blair Athol, I'm not sure, and a friend of mine, Mel Page, then told me what the course was going to be like. A big hill, rough course. So at home we got a hill, and it's pretty rough. And I trained and trained and trained the doubles for that competition. When I got there, it wasn't 800. They brought the thing down and down and down the starting post till it was almost like a national course.
Yes.
And I said to the course director, what on earth are you bringing so small for? It's up there it should be, because I know I trained for it.
Yes.
And he said, no, it's too difficult. He said, it's too difficult. I said, you want to make it difficult to improve the dogs, not make the course smaller so the dogs will do it.
Yes. Yes. And well, say now that's of course that's at the very extreme end there. But for somebody trying to start off and get going at doubles, and somebody who's a little bit interested, have you any advice or anything that you think is very important to try and work by?
Well, go small to start, singles or doubles. Always small to start, and then you gradually improve from there. And when you're in a small area, it's easy to control your dogs, and they're happy in a small area. If you put them in too big area too soon, things will go wrong. You'll start whistling louder and harder, or upset the dogs, and no good.
Yes, yes. And the other thing I often wonder about is it's one thing getting ready to run doubles and all, but to find fellas who are qualified to judge doubles, like every year we have our fellas to judge the doubles, but a lot of them don't run doubles.
I can't believe the directors picking people that have never completed, some have never seen a doubles course.
Yes.
And yet they've got experienced doubles men who are not running, sitting in the crowd watching.
Yes, yes. And it's doubles is, like if somebody asked me to judge doubles, sure I haven't a clue